Ready to level up your Revit skills? Well, in this course, you're going to master the art of building families from scratch. We'll start with the basics, understanding families, setting up parameters, and shaping geometry. Then, we'll dive into managing types and instances, creating full families, and mapping materials. Finally, you'll learn how to load families into projects and bring your designs to life. Let's get started. In this edition, we're going to talk about families. And I know you may say, what? Yes, families. Families are so important because they make up the components that make up Revit. Okay. Now, there are different types of families. We will have what we call families that are type families, instant families, right? And system families. So we have three different types. System families will be something that's already embedded that has to do with how Revit works. And then we'll have what we call type families, means that, hey, if I change this type and I put it a bunch of places, right, then if I make one change to that, then it all change. Now, then there'll be what we call an instance family. And then if I go ahead and create an instance family, then that one will be just only its unique instance and therefore. But I want to kind of break this down for Revit for beginners because it's so important to really go through the ins and out of Revit. Let me just go back up just a little bit so you know where I am starting. This is going to be a Revit 2026 tutorial. And what we're going to do is when we start Revit, now we're going to have a couple different things, right? And in this case, we're going to say where it says sample architecture family. Now, we are going to create something from scratch, but I want us to show you a breakdown before we do it. And so when we open this up, we'll have a bunch of different components. And as you can see here, this is the interface it looks for when you're in Revit for families. It's going to show you a load into project feature, and a load into project and close, load into project, set reference planes, a reference plane, a reference line. And a reference line is going to be like guidelines for you to how to create your families and what they need to reference. A reference plane is something that you use to create for your drawing tools to make sure that your family stays in line. Then if you want to go ahead and put model text in the family, you want to use model lines for your 3D views. And then here is what we call your forms shape editor. As you can see right here, you got extrusion. You got blend, which is two different shapes. All right, creating up this, and if you hold it for long enough, you'll see what that is, right? Then you got extrusion, which is basically you create a 2D shape, and then that extrusion based off the different shape will now just be extruded. Now you have resolve. Resolve will now say, hey, here's an axis, and now I can go around it. And now you have your resolve. Then you have your sweep. Now what you can do here is now I can do to a path of a different objects, okay, from a 2D and 3D objects. There you go. And then you got your sweep blend, and then that has to go ahead and create a sweep and define a path, have different shapes and sizes, and there's your sweep blend. And then at the same time, you have the same thing for your void as well. Okay, and most families take up multiple different things of a family to create the different avenues. Okay, and then also right here, super important, your family categories and parameters. That's where we're going to set to control the different parameters. And then also to your family types to let Revit know what type of family that you're actually creating to inside of Revit so it knows where to slot you. And also too, it says PP properties, and then that's where obviously it's going to show kind of your constraints of whatever you're creating. Now, always in Revit, we talked about this all the time before, we work parametrically. And what does that mean? Well, when you work parametrically, that means you're always in multiple views at the same time, manipulating objects. So in this case, it's showing that we're in the reference level, which is good. And what you see right now is you see what we call reference planes, which we're going to use, all right, to center, and you're going to see equal dimensions. You're going to see a length parameter. You're going to see a width parameter, and then you're going to see equal dimensions again. Okay, so we're just showing you how to deconstruct a family. And then you're going to see a reference plane in the middle, and they'll give a name, says center, and these by default. Okay, and it'll say center left to right. This is going to be center front to back. Okay, and then you're going to have all these different, we call constraints, to make sure that you are being, you see the names of the constraints, right, left. Okay. These are all, this is the bottom in front, this is the back. All right, so all those components make up what this family is. Now, if I go ahead and hit the 3D view, this is a chair. All right, as you can see right here, see the different components. All right, and as you can see over here, look, it says extrusion, start, stop, and then the visibility graphics. Okay, and we'll go through this entire scenario. And then also, too, I'm going to do an elevation. I'm going to hit left. All right, So as you can see, no matter what view you look in, you see reference planes in all the views, okay? So these are all the components to let you know how and what we're creating. In this case, this is an architectural object, and this is pretty much a chair. And now what I want you to do is go over to view, and now we are going to now say, okay, cool. We are going to now hit view. Oh, we can just do right here, view tile. And now you can see on all three views, I have an elevation or 3D view, and I have a reference plane. This is how I always want you to work inside of Revit. This will get you understanding how you need to work and why you need to work. So with that being said, let's get into it. So in this case, now that you've seen all this information, if I click on here, now this says, hey, linear dimension, and it's going to be a little bit different. You'll see how I got length, it says label, instance, type, what we talked about before. We'll go over it. So what I'm going to do now, it's going to sound crazy, go to 3D view, highlight everything, and we are going to reconstruct this scenario. All right, so now I'm gonna hit delete. All right, so these are two different components, and I'm gonna delete it again. All right, we'll keep the reference lines there, but we're also going to show you how to draw these reference lines in the create tab. So you see right here it says reference planes. Basically, creating a reference plane, you'll go ahead and say, hey, let me click on reference plane. Now I can put this in a subcategory if I need to. And I can draw it out. You see how it gives me these different options over here. So the wall closer, we won't use that. See what it says subcategory over here. Won't use that. But look, here's what is permanent. As you can see through this, it says, hey, you'll see others is a reference. All right, so that shows you strong reference, weak reference, left, right. And all those are just telling how this family is going to be divided. And also, too, here's another important thing. If this is like a door or something like that, one of the reference planes is going to say, hey, this is going to define the center. So if it says this is the origin, it means that from this origin going back and forth, this is what everything's based off of. In this case, we're not going to use this, and we're going to hit escape. So we already got reference planes here. So what we're going to end up doing, and I'm going to go ahead and close these, and this is going to, remember, length is going to be at the top, and width is going to be on the side. All right, so I'm going to delete those. All right. Delete that, delete that. Now, other thing I want you to do from a unit perspective, I want you to go ahead and create units. So we're going to make sure this unit's in inches and not feet in inches and not metric. So we're going to go ahead and click on UN. And then what that's going to do now is go over to where it says distance, or length, I'm sorry. And we're going to switch that to, say, feet in inches. And we're going to change that to, say, 1/8. All right. Okay. All right. So now that we are set, we have reference planes, okay? I just want to make sure you understand the reference planes. So most important reference planes that you automatically start up with is always going to be this reference plane and this reference plane. Everything else you can draw around to set up. And what I mean by that is what they just did here, okay, is they were making sure that when they did this reference planes, they started off. So here's what I'm going to show you just to recreate it. Don't worry about the equals. All right, I'm going to get rid of that. All right. Make sure this isn't pin. Okay, and let me go ahead and delete that. I want to delete it. Okay. All right. So I got this. Everything's gone here. I'm gonna delete this last one if it will let me. So maybe. All right. So that was the wrong one. So I'm gonna move this right to my center. Okay. And the reason I'm moving this to my center because it's going to be hugely important for what we're trying to do. In this case, everything's going to be off of the center. So what we're going to do right now is make sure these center lines are good. So right now, this is my center up to front, right? Finds the origin. So now we're just going to make it. Don't worry about where it is right now. We're just going to center it up. So now what I want you guys to do is we're going to go to create. We're going to go to reference lines. And I don't even want you to be good at it. I want you to click on it, click from side to side. All right, just draw. There you go. Okay, click on go up, click. All right, you're gonna be like, man, why is it so messy? Because in this case, I want it to be messy. I want everything to kind of look the way it's looking right now. And then you're gonna start to understand real soon how we're gonna have this situation done. So now it should look messy and chaotic, and you understand. So now in this case, I want to make sure that this reference says left. I want this to say right. I want this one to say back. All right. So within this scenario, we are now going to set up parameters and everything else. Because remember, before we do anything, we are going to actually make sure that we have what we need. Okay, and I'm going to do all this to stretch paths, stretch those like that. And just click and grab them. All right, just line them all up, just click on them. All right, boom. So now with that being said, what are we going to do? We're going to go over to where it says annotate, and I'm going to hit align. Now I'm going to click on this, click on that, click on this. You're going to see an equal button. I want you to click that and hit equal. Look at that. It takes whatever that is going to be and create an equal. That's why I said I don't mind it being messy. While you're still in here, you hit escape once, so you can still be in the command. I want you to click on this. I want you to click on that. And now look, there's your dimension up at the top. Now I want you to do the same command. I want you to do the same thing here. Click on this, click on this, click on this. All right, click out and hit equal. Boom. Same thing. Click on this, click on that. Boom. All right. And that's just to get you started. All right. We were just trying to make sure that our reference planes are set up before we do anything else. Okay. All right. That is just so key to what we're doing. All right. Boom. So now that that's done, I want you now to go back to this family over here, right over here. And then we got to tackle these two components, family types and family categories and parameters. So the first thing you want to do is set family types. Oh, sorry. Wrong one. Family categories. Why do you want to go to family categories first? Because, well, you know what? When you're in Revit, you have to determine what's going on, how this thing is going to go. All right. You have to define this. In this case, we're saying this is going to be a furniture system. But look, in Revit, everything is categorized because this is a database. And so you have to tell it how it's going to function and where it's going to function. So in this case, obviously, it's going to be on architecture. In this case, it said it's going to be furniture. Okay, so cool. Now in this case, it's going to say, hey, always vertical for what you're doing, which is fine. Don't really have to worry about any of these other ones, but just understanding that these are the information that goes into it. Now, if this was a door or something like that, or a room or space, maybe you would use room calculation point. You would check that box. Or if you want any other avenues to be checked, like work plane base, which this one isn't, or cut with voids and and let's see here. When loaded, you could. But right now, the only ones you want are just the default, and then the render appearance, family geometry, and then shared. Okay, so in that case right now, you got furniture check. Want to define what family it is, because a lot of times it'll be under generic when it first comes in, and you want to make sure that it's not set to generic. You want it to be defined in the furniture. All right, and then when you bring it into a project, we'll show you how to do that. When you bring it into a project, it'll be under the components for families, and that's where all your stuff will be. Correct? All right. So now what I want you to do, you say, man, we still haven't made anything yet. Yes, you have not made anything yet, but you're on the road. We want you now to go to your elevation. That's what I was talking about before. Now your elevation is, okay, cool. So now I got this middle line here. All right, I want to make sure that this goes all the way up. Make sure all my information, just drag it all the way up. All right, now I want to do another reference plane. Cool. And I want to just click anywhere. Boom. So now I want this to say, hey, this is going to be my elevation. And so this says, I want to say top. All right. So now that says top, I want you to go ahead and click annotate, hit align. I want you to click on that. Then hit here. All right. So now we got a dimension that's going to control the height. And you said, now how does that happen? Because these different lines are going to control the different avenues. Okay. So you're going to be in a lot of different views at the same time. So in this case, all right, we're operating in all these different facets. So now we're going to come back over here. So now that we've got all this information here, we're going to go over here and look at this. So right now, you're going to go family categories and parameters. All right. Whoops, sorry. The second step, family types. So now the family types, I want to get rid of all this stuff. Delete, 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 delete. I want this all to be new for you guys. All to be new. All right. Everything here, delete again. Delete. Yep. Delete. Delete. I'm getting rid of all this stuff, guys, because you are going to be the defined person for all this stuff, okay? Only thing that we're going to keep in here is material, all right? And I can even show you how to do that, but this is the material portion, which I will show you how to do, by the way. And we are going to create. Right now, the first thing I want you to do is we're going to create 3 different components. The 3 different components that we're going to go ahead and create will be the height, the width, and the length. All right, so here right now, you're going to see where it says edit parameters. You're going to see where it says new parameters. We'll click on that, and then you're going to see 2 different types of parameters. You're going to see family parameters and then share parameters. In this case right now, we're only going to stick with family parameters, but in the next tutorial, we'll go over share parameters and how you can utilize that. It's just like it says, share parameters, meaning that all the information can be shared with multiple projects. They can also appear in schedules. And then also, it says type and instance. In this particular case, for this furniture, this will be a type. So that means that if we change anything, all of the information will be changed all at once. All right, so we can create different types, sets for furniture. Okay, so in this case, we're going to say base. Sorry, I'm not saying base. Just told you that I didn't even do it. So now we're going to say height. All right, keep it in length. All right, dimensions. And we're going to hit OK. All right, and so we're going to give that height. We're going to just say give it a number of 3 feet. All right, next we're going to length. Cool. And we're going to right there. Boom. Okay, all right. So I gave it length. I need to do another. I'm sorry. My bad. There's height. You should now, there you go. I'm going to change that 3 feet. And then I'm going to do one more, width. All right. And I'm going to do that with 3 feet. All right. So now that I have that, okay, you see that I have these dimensions, okay? And it's pretty cool to say, hey, well, what is this? Well, now I can go and you see where it says type name. And I can say, you know what, I want this new family call to be new type. And I want this to be, say, 3x3 space. Boom. Little space here. I'll just keep it together. Come to you right now. All right. Now that information is captured by this 3x3 base. Now, if I wanted to do another one and I want this to be a new type again, I can say this is going to be a 6 by space. I just got to click that, and then I got to change this and say, hey, all these will be 6. Hopefully you guys have found out what we're doing. Then if I want to do another type, I can say, hey, I want this to be a 5x5. So I can do it a 5x5. Okay, then the same thing here. Now if you see this, look, boom, boom. Now I got all these different types. Okay, let me take this out. I need to actually say basic. If I need to rename, I just click here. If I did delete here, I need a new type here. All right, so boom. So now I got all that information. When you like, I still haven't done anything. You haven't, but you are about to right now. This is the creation of the actual family. So the family that we're going to use in this instance is going to be the extrusion tab. All right. Then I'll say, okay, cool. So now we're going to go ahead and hit extrusion, and you're going to say, boom. All right. So now what I want you to do is says depth. All right. Don't worry about that just yet. We're going to go ahead and click the square command, and I want you to click anywhere inside of here. And then boom, click inside. All right. Now you see that sketch in all 3 places. Okay. And now what I want you guys to do from an extrusion standpoint, you'll see how we got all this. Now we're going to show a command called align and locking. What that means is we're going to hit AL. We're going to click on the reference plane. Boom. Now I can also do this what we call multiple alignments. I could do that as well too. But this I want to show you right here. Look, and when I click on that, boom, same thing here. All right, same thing. All right, cool. So now that all that's done, we're in this sketch over here. We're aligned and locked it. Click back here. All right. So now all that's together. We're going to hit green check mark. Man, look at that. So now we got our first geometry. Okay. We got our first geometry. Cool. And what we're going to also do with our first geometry, we're also going to, remember this is a chair. So we're going to need another reference line to keep us on point. So now I want you to click on this line, and I want you to go ahead and hit CO, which is copy, or you can find it right here. And I want you to go ahead, and this is going to be about foot. And then I want you to do me another solid, annotate, click there. And then I want you to go ahead and click both of these, and then keep that dimension right there because that's going to come up at some point. I want you to click on that dimension and then hit that lock button. Okay. All right. And what I want you to do after you do that, you have all this information right here. From a height perspective, I want you to stay in this elevation command. I want you to hit align again. I want you to hit this. I want you to hit that geometry. I want you to lock it. I want you to hit this geometry. I want you to hit that geometry, and I want you to lock it. Oh man! So now that that's locked here with this geometry, right? Now I want you to click on this dimension right here, and I want you, instead of it saying linear dimension, I want you to say this label. Oh, look at that! And I want this label to say height. And guys, look what we just did. Now we created a parameter. Now we created a dimension, a lock command, okay? And I'm saying right now, here's all that information here. So now when I click on this again, because of what we clicked before, now we can go ahead and click those particular things, okay? That is really, really cool. Now, if you're still watching this video and you haven't subscribed, oh, we got a problem. In order for me to keep dropping these jewels and these gems for this transformation, I need you to like, subscribe, and share. All right, let's get back to the video. Now, when we're doing this family, and you see the part that we have right here, remember we locked everything before, so I'm going to go ahead and change this lock to about, let's see here, let's go on this line again. and I want this to be 6 inches. All right, now I want that to lock again. So, all right, so now that's gonna be 6 inches for the base. All right, so right there, boom. Now, if I need that number here, turn it to parameter. I'm gonna show you how to do it here as well. As you can see here, it'll say, hey, well, if I want to turn this into a parameter or create a label from this, how would I do it? Well, in this case, you click on this dimension. You'll say, hey, there's no dimension here. There's nothing here. How do I take this dimension and actually make a label? So in this case, create a label. So now in this one, I'm going to say base. All right. And then I'm going to lock that one. Boom. So now I have that. And then here's my height that we created earlier. Right. And so that one, if I need it to be any height, I can click on this because we created a label for that. And now I can say, hey, now this is 4 feet. No matter what, we got that information and we got those types as well too of how we want this to be. So in this case, it's going to be 3 feet. Now that's good, but now we may need also the legs. So let's do the legs. So in this case, let's do the legs. We're going to go ahead and create, and we're still going to go ahead and do extrusions, but this time we're going to do a circle. Okay. So now once I do a circle, I'm going to go ahead and click on one circle. Click right over here, and I'm going to say what size the circle is going to be. So in this case, I'm going to say 3. All right. And then if I want, I can just kind of dimension. Also, when you click on a circle, it'll say, hey, mark the center point. Boom. Click on that. And now I can just go ahead and say, hey, I want this center point now to be, all right, 6 inches. Click on that. Off the base. Cool. Now I can click on this. Okay. And I can kick a radius as well, but we'll do that in a second. So if I click on this circle, you'll see now I got this dimension. Clicked on that to make that a dimension. Now I say, hey, I may want a radius for this. So I click on here to create a label. Well, we're cooking now. Just say a radius, and now I'll just hit OK. So now I got that. So now I'm controlling everything. So I'm going to click on this. I'm going to mirror, pick axis. Oh, yeah. Perfect. There we go. And the only reason I'm going to go back to that, because, guys, when I did to pick the axis, what I didn't do is I wanted to pick the mirror, and I want to check this box. It tells me that I can keep it in the same place. And that's all I want to do is keep this in the same place. I'm going to do this. I'm going to click on this box. And then let's do, where's my, I should be here. Go click on my mirror command. All right. And I want this to be the thing over here. And all right, I'm going to click on this. Where my mirror command is acting up, which is okay. I'll take this off first. Click on that box again. All right, because it was supposed to give me my mirror access box to say I wanted to be able to click on that. All right, see it says copy. Make sure this is copy. That's the new command. I'm going to just go ahead and do this. Boom. All right, so now I got that here. Now I'm going to select both of these. And I'm going to go ahead and click mirror again. Copy. And now I'm going to go ahead and down here. All right, so now I got all 4 of those mirrored. And it's saying it's already giving me an extrusion. Here, you see it. And then if I want to, you see how I have a base for the extrusion for the height if I need to. All right. Now in this case, I'm going to leave it off because this is also to how you can what we call associate parameters. But in this case right now, I am going to leave this alone until we go ahead and match this up. Okay. So now it's just saying extrusion of foot. I'm going to go ahead and click. Okay. And now you see what it just did here. Boom. Just gave me that. But now I want to go ahead and tie this in. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, if I want to go ahead and control this base based upon the different information, I'll go ahead and click on annotate, hit OK. I'm going to go ahead and click this. Now look, okay, sorry, not annotate, I'm going to hit align at AL, click on that, come down here. Now you're going to see me here, I hit the lock button, align and lock. Okay, now you'll see here I got that. Now what I am going to do, let's go around, because if I wanted to, I could go ahead and take parameters to align it this way. But now if I move this up and down, doesn't matter, it's going to move with it. So what I'm going to do is just move this off just a little bit. All right, and I'm going to hit AL, hit this baseline, hit that, and then boom. So now if I go ahead and click this, and I go ahead and say, let's go 4 foot, just showing you, you see how it's going to stay now aligned and locked to that. Okay, so now that's good. I got everything aligned how I want it, base, everything here. You may say why I didn't align it. Well, I wanted to go ahead and keep it this way. So now what you see is I have everything kind of aligned in a fashion for furniture. Okay, and then I got a base, and then I got legs, all right, for material as well too, right? So now if I go ahead and click on my base, as you can see here, see the different categories for material. I can click on this if I need to. And then what this will do is now it'll take me to the material category. Okay, let me slow it down so you guys can see. It is a super tiny window. So right now you'll see a couple different things. I can map it with already predetermined things that I have in the family or material, or I can go ahead and map it right here. As you can see here, it says now right here, category, or right here if it's map. See the associate map? So I got base material and I got top material. Okay, then I can click on that and then look. It still says, hey, I can create a new parameter as well. But in this case, we're not going to add a parameter to this. Okay, we're going to go ahead and slow down. And then what's going to happen from here is that we got the base and we got the top, and then we're going to go based upon that, and that information is going to be now taken care of. So with that being said, now that we're going to go ahead and make sure you look at this. Boom. And remember, let's make sure that everything's assigned. So now we're going to click on here. All right. And remember how before we had these different parameters. So now we got this. I'm going to change this label. And this label is going to be length. As you can see there, we're going to change on this label like we created before. And remember, because we have an equal to always be equaled out style. All right. I'm going to show you something so you guys know that we can mean business, and we got to make sure that things are kept the way they are. Watch this, which is okay with. All right. Now, see how that's operating, because all of it is controlled. So now we got parameters that are controlling it from the width, the height, the length, right? And if I went to any one of these, now it's controlled. The only thing we have to do now is just add a material. And so when we add the material, we'll just go ahead and say, hey, cool, here's all the information that we need. Same thing. So I'm going to go to base. And first, I want you to see what's already here. Like we talked about before. Sorry. We'll go here, family types. And as you can see here, the only thing that's left, as you see right now, is saying, hey, here's all the different types. Base material, top material. And all you gotta do, you see how that's already programmed there, and these little 3 dots, they're super tiny, you can't see. All right. And so with these, says, look, it says laminate ivory matte and then birch wood for base material. Okay, cool. So I want to go ahead and find that. There's 2 ways to find that out. So right now, let me go back to the information we need. I'm gonna click on the material, see what's associated. Right now we have nothing associated with it. So with that being said, if we go ahead and click on this, we're gonna say base material, the parameter that we got created, hit OK. See how I already mapped that. Then we're gonna go ahead and click here. And right now, there's 2 ways we could do this. We could add material programmed in here from the parameter we created, or we could go ahead and create something different. Now this is what the library looks like. So if we ever wanted to do this on our own without mapping material, we can just say ivory, search, and you can see here, boom. And if you need to go out to material library and add anything else or a new material, or find where this is, it says open existing library, and then you can see all the different information. Back up. All the different information that's here. All right, and here, asset browser. Here's all the physical materials that Revit uses. Okay, you can go back over here. You can look at that, and you can go to different ones. We'll call them Autodesk physical assets. That's the one I like to use a lot. And then you can go to the different aspects based on flooring, and then you can start to bring all that information in. Okay, you hit this little button right here, and then you'll start to map the information that you already have in. So this is how you find a lot of different material. Okay, I use most of the time the physical material. Obviously, if you want a structural, if you want American material, but I use this Autodesk physical assets all the time. So I at least wanted to show you kind of how that works. And then the same thing here. If you click on that, you go to the graphics, and then you can see where it says use render appearance. You see, when I check that, I like doing that a lot. And if I want any cut patterns, I can do this as well. See, right now, if I say I want this to cut a different way, boom, I can say that I want that to cut that way when it looks from a cut. Foreground, surface, in a 2D perspective, I can say, you know what, show, I can click on this where it says model, and, different patterns. But it's just good to know that when you're looking at how things need to look, okay? All right, and then appearance, this is what it's going to say. It's going to show you this. It's going to show you, hey, it's going to look like this. It's going to give you updated material, and you'll kind of be able to see what the appearance profile is going to look like. I'm going to hit OK. In this case, like I said before, so I got both of these. Now, if I want to see this in a material form, I can just go here and you see where it says texture or realistic. Boom. Now you can see what it looks like in the family. We've prioritized just about everything in this particular family to really, really have access to make this what it needs to be. But this is really, really how the basis of a beginner to an expert on how to create a family. And then when you're done, guys, you can do 2 things. First and foremost, super important, is where you save it. Okay, make sure you save it and you can save it in where it needs to be, and the family where all the other families are in Autodesk Revit outside of just the samples, but the families itself. So if I go to Revit 2026 and I go put it in the families category, that's where everything will lie for you guys. Crucial, or just save it to your own library. But then once you save it, especially if you have an active project open. So like for instance, I'm gonna open up an active project. I'm gonna just go ahead and do an active architectural project. All right, so I'm gonna do that for my sample architectural project so you know the last steps of how to bring this into an actual project, and so you can be able to find it. Guys, I want you to be the best Revit expert ninja you can, but before you can really do that, you have to become a master at all the small basics. And Revit is a process tool that is a database that needs to follow an order. If you do anything out of order, you're going to have a hard time. Now, what I'm doing right now is I'm opening an active project while I'm still in my family edit. This is super important so you understand. So what I'm going to do is just make sure I go to level 1. All right, so when I get into this project, I still have my other stuff accessed, but I wanted to make sure that you understand what everything is and how this is, because my job is to bring value to you guys. All right, so now that I'm active in a floor plan, all right, now I'm gonna go back to my stuff, to my family. I got everything active, right? So right now, the only thing I have not done with this particular family is just make sure I'm gonna go ahead and say save as to make sure I know what my naming convention is, right? So in this case, this is a type family. All right, right now it says basic Revit family, correct? I'm going to save it here, but I'm going to just say, now I'm going to name it appropriately. I'm going to say, this is a stool, right? All right, I'm going to call this stool. All right. So now that that's done, I'm going to hit save. All right, don't worry about it because this is a sample one that we took. But after I do that, I'm going to go ahead. There's two options. You have load and close project. In this case, because I want to load this into the project, I'm going to hit load into project. Now I'm an active project. See what I just said? All right. Look like it didn't do anything, but go back to level 1. It's loaded. Now, where you find this, while it's still loaded, you see right here it says component? Click on that. And it'll say place component, right? Then the first thing that's going to come up is what? Oh, look, if you zoom in, here's your stool. It'll show up, it'll hide, it'll see what's coming in on the right level, and then you can click on it. Boom, that is now your family in the project. And if you need it to, you can click on it, and now you can change it by the size. Remember the size that we created? Look at that. All right, just showing you how we create a family and showing you the power of Revit. Here's all the other components. So what you've been able to do is now you create that, and if you want to see it in 3D in your project, just click on it. See this little button right here? And then you can, it's called a section box to whatever object that you're touching on, and boom. Now, the only thing we didn't do is put it to the right height elevation. So what we do is, right now it says, okay, that this is at block 11-137. Click on the concrete. It says 37, and this one was 35. So we're going to change this elevation to what? 37. All right. Now it's okay. It's still there. All right. Just click on this box. It's a little visual section box because it's just cutting the section view based upon that. And then now I'll go ahead and just say, all right, cool. Click on this. So you guys can kind of see it. Just cut it off based on the view. And if I wanted to, there you go. Then hit the light box again. There you go, guys. Hopefully, I took you through the steps of understanding the different types of families. And now, if we were to do this as an instance, I can remember the different types. A type family is when I copy the same family, multiple ones that already has a predetermined type already in it. If this was an instance family and we did this as a one-off, sometimes that happens, then I would have the ability to go back into Revit, okay, and then on my families themselves have parameters set up to manually change all these objects as I'm in. Whether with this, I can go ahead and say, hey, I don't want parameters tied to anything. I just want a height parameter that I can modify inside the project. And so I wouldn't even basically make any of these tied parameters to be presets. I would just do one with parameters saying height, length, and width, and then I can control that already in the project and I can copy it multiple times. So you really have to determine what type of family you're trying to create, what is the purpose, and how you guys want to do it. And then when you're also in the project, right, then you can also look at it again from a texture, realistic standpoint. So you can also see what the materials look like when you bring it into the project. Either way, all right, you see how it will look kind of rendered? Either way, I just changed it in the project. Texture, same way. I love that for 2026. All these are a proper way to build a Revit family. This one was a furniture. Thank you for watching. I want you to see the difference. So right now, if I click on this object, I have no way to control this because this is what we call a type-based family. Okay, so type-based family mean, hey, I can change it, see how I get bigger sizes, as you can see here. But in this case, I'm going to just go back to this size. All right, so now if that's the case, I have this in here. And also in my project, look, you see I don't have any capabilities to change anything right here. They're all, and if I need to change anything, I have to go in here where it's the type. And then if I wanted to modify something, I could do it, but I'll have to do it inside of this dialog box here, or I can create another type, but I would have to be in the type parameters, okay? Now in this particular case, right, now I am going to now load this into the project, right? And it's going to overwrite, which is okay. Override existing parameters. Then I'm going to go back to my 3D view. I'll click on it again. Now I want you to see, look, now I got all these parameters outside of the type. I don't have to hit this anymore. So if I want to go ahead and say, hey, I want the height to be, see that? Cool. If I, you know what I mean? Let me go, like, right now it's showing the height because I now I can change it. Same thing with the length. I can say this is 2 feet. See how I just moved in? The width, I can do the same thing. Look, and I can say the height, 2 feet. Look, those are the difference between an instance, okay, and a type. One predetermined that I can copy 100 times, so when I make those changes to 1, it changes to 100, or it can be an instance where I can have full capability control as a one-off. You really have to determine what type of product you want this to be, what these families make up. And when you want to find these families as well, you come down here to the project browser, you'll see where it says families, okay? Then you go to the category that we built everything in, right? In this case, we put everything in the furniture. So if I come all the way down here to where it says furniture, okay? Then you just look for what you created. Obviously, this was one we were creating, but now you can see all the different family types, and then you also see the instance. So if you ever want to delete any of these, you can right-click, and you can delete them from here, and it will now be gone out of it, okay? And if you want to just see those different things in different categories in the project browser, all right, Revit 2026, all right, links, families, all right, all those different things right now. You can search and do it all home, but it's perfectly understandable to understand, like I said, what's going on. See how you can highlight over it, links, families, boom. All right, thanks for watching.